So I think those are the first two big things.
Representative Baker, you have served 2 terms in the legislature, and your Democratic opponents have been in government for a lot longer, and they're probably going to say, well, I have more experience and I've accomplished this, this, and this. How come you're going to be able to go to Congress and get stuff done better than people who are going to be able to say, well, I've already got stuff done in the Missouri legislature?
Well, the first thing is I haven't been sitting on the sidelines, and I didn't sit on the sidelines to enter this race either. I had the courage to get in when I thought it was even going to be hard. I mean, some of it's showing up and saying, I'm going to take it on even when it's difficult. That's my character. So I have that. Also, as far as experience goes, because I haven't been on the sidelines, I've been deeply involved in healthcare policy, in tax policy, in economic incentive policy. So those are things that I think I'll bring to the table. I haven't been sitting on the sidelines. I've been intricately involved in those things. The budget issues and that kind of
Hearing from other parts of the 9th District, like St. Charles County and other areas, have you heard any input on what kind of support you're receiving?
The phone calls that I've been making have been all over the district, not just in Columbia. So I've already started to do outreach. We are putting in an organization in every county. And I will find out today a little bit of what people are thinking out there. I had a very good visit in Mexico already this morning, and we'll be going to Moberly, Kirksville, Hannibal, and Union today. I'm making sure that they understand that the reason I'm doing this tour is to show them that I'm not just going to be the congresswoman from my hometown, but I intend to be the congressman from their hometown as well.
The current congressman dealt a lot with ethanol and agricultural issues. I haven't heard you mention those too much. Are those going to be on top priority?
I'm mentioning those out where it's appropriate to do so. Here I might mention the Health Science Center as a priority, and I didn't mention that in the speech because I knew it would come up as a question. I'm going to work very hard on a Health Science Center that has been meant to be here for almost a decade now.
How do you respond to the argument that a Democrat who, for example, is in favor of abortion rights can't win the 9th District?
My response is that the polls don't show that, for starters. When the economy is in the shape that it's in, and the war is on everyone's mind, and they don't have health care for their children, their newborn, those maybe take precedence over some of the other issues that have been used before for politics. I also have, I have a thoughtful position on abortion rights. It's not just a knee-jerk position. It's a thoughtful position. It's a position out of my faith. And I think that I will be able to resonate even in places where there may be some differences, but we can come to some common ground. I plan to do a very strong pro-prevention. It's very important that we prevent unintended pregnancy, and that's the best thing that reduces abortion. I'll be working on that.
Withdrawing troops from Iraq, but mobilizing diplomacy there with a coalition of sorts. Will you elaborate on that? How do you do that?
There's a lot of countries that are allies and natural allies in that area of the world, and we need to get them more involved. Of course, we've had the biggest footprint, and frankly, that has exacerbated the problem somewhat. So if our footprint can become less, but yet allied countries to Iraq can help them secure their borders so that they can work out their differences, then I think that we can maybe find our way through the problems in Iraq.
Do you support any kind of timeline for a troop withdrawal?
Well, it would depend. That would depend. Timelines are controversial. I do think that if we make sure that Iraq knows that we are going to reduce our presence there, and that they're going to have, as we stand down, they stand up. That philosophy, remember, that was actually a pretty good one. We haven't stood down yet in order for them to take responsibility. So, I see that if we give them a relatively good time frame and say, we will start building hospitals and schools at this time if you can work out your differences. And then we can maybe build our hospitals and schools at home as well with the very expensive price tag that it takes for us to have a privatized war.
So is that going to be based on a calendar in terms of withdrawing, or is that going to be based on the situation physically, the security situation in Iraq?
I think that you have to have a combination of both, honestly. I think you need to set what would be natural benchmarks to meet. And if they're not being met, then you have to renegotiate. But I think both the Democratic presidentials intend to pull our troops out in a responsible way as soon as responsibly possible, and I support that.
Following up on one of his earlier questions, you had mentioned how you were in the race in December. Is it frustrating to see other Democrats jumping in now that it's an open seat?
That is a prerogative of every candidate, come in whenever they want to. I came in when it was difficult. I came in when it took courage. I came in at a time when I didn't have political opportunity as much, but I had the will to say what I thought was right to do, and I thought that I was less afraid of losing than I was afraid of not having the issues debated fully, and I was intending to do that.
That's correct.